What's going on, fam? It's your brother Lawrence here with another episode of Watch God Work, where we look to give you inspiration and practical wisdom to live a good life, a godly life. Typically, when there is great crisis or great suffering, usually that is an impetus to bring people together. People who aren't normally on the same side of the political aisle, whether there was issues of philosophy, issues of policy. Usually, those things bring us together. We see 9/11 when there is something that is collectively impacting a country, a city, a nation, a world. Typically, you find unlikely bedfellows who put away their differences and usually find unity in a common threat. They're able to find common ground because of a common threat. Over the past 2 years, there's been a common threat to the entire world. There's been a public health crisis that has completely shaken generations of people. We've seen hundreds of thousands of brothers and sisters gone too soon all around the world. Many of them weren't even able to get proper burial, proper goodbyes. There have been times and separation, things that we've never experienced in our lifetime. It was a common threat. And naturally, you believe and hope that these things allow for continuity and unity that we've never experienced between countries, coordination, alignment. But even in that crisis, we saw a lot of division, access to resources, spreading and schedules of production and syndication of vaccination resources. When information was shared about the threat that was happening in certain countries and thinking about the implication on others, we saw a lot of division, unfortunately. Today, I want to be very careful about how I speak about this, but I'm partly being careful in part because I think it's a very, very quickly evolving subject, but I do think it is worthy of a conversation, or at least to point out why we as people who try to live good, godly lives, who try to live for God, have to pay attention and have to be really sensitive to political issues like this. More recently, there's been a report, and there have been a number of reports of a new form of this deadly virus that has been popping up around the world. It was first reported, confirmed in South Africa last Wednesday. And since then, they have been following all protocols by the World Health Organization to let the countries know and let the world know about what's happening. In view of the Delta variant, in view of all these things that's taken place, that is a beautiful thing to see countries mindful that the decisions that they make impact other people, right? But what's concerning, and I think what causes the question why many of them love God, don't know God, whatnot, who kind of struggle to trust leadership, is when it seems like the policies don't fully take into account, or the policies don't fully make sense. Right? There was this great article in the New York Times, and I'm going to pull this up right now, by one of our sisters here, by Zainab Tufekci. And she was essentially kind of giving a scan, kind of saying how we must act and what are some of the learnings that we should have taken and could have taken from what we've gone through over the past 2 years. And you can imagine there's a lot of learnings, but some of them has been, how do we actually limit when things like this happen? How do we actually limit the spread? And one of the things she pointed out was really point. I'm going to reread. The United States, the European Union, and many nations have already announced a travel ban on several African countries. Such restrictions can buy time, even if the variant has started to spread, but only if they are implemented in a smart way along with other measures, not as pandemic theatrics. The travel ban from several South African countries announced by President on Friday exempts American citizens and permanent residents, other than requiring them to be tested. But containment needs to target the pathogens, not the passports. As a precaution, travel should be restricted for both foreign nationals and U.S. citizens from countries where the variant is known to be spreading more widely until we have more clarity. Makes sense, right? This is not a virus that is specific to a people. It is a virus that may be attacking, or a virus that may be disproportionately affecting people. And as a result of the nature of viruses, when they spread, they affect other people, and they do not discriminate. As we've seen over this year, it does not discriminate. I think for you, I don't care whether the person who has the virus is an American citizen, or whether they're a UK citizen, whether they're a South African citizen. What matters is that you got the virus and you're an equal threat to your neighbor. And if there's a true love of neighbor, it does not matter where you're coming from. And so as a result of what we've gone through, most of the recommendations have been any place where there are instances, any place where there is a fast, rapid spreading number of incidences, we should be cautious. And I don't care if you're an American citizen, you should be contained there temporarily until there is more information, because it does not matter that the person from South Africa and the person from the United States, it doesn't dictate how it's going to be transmitted. It's going to be transmitted equally. And what's further concerning, right, and many people have pointed out, is that, again, it's only been in the African countries where there's been ban taking place, even though there have been confirmed instances of this new form all around the world. We already see Czech Republic, Italy, Germany, UK, Hong Kong, Belgium, Israel. These all have confirmed cases of this variant. But the only countries that have been banned from entering the United States of America have been South Africa, Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Zimbabwe. Again, I'm not a scientist. Probably neither are you. But even with the learnings, and even with what our sister in the New York Times article wrote, she says, look at it, even what Taiwan did. They were restricting travel immediately. And look, they were able to contain it largely for 2 years. Again, scale matters, but 2 years. What is the thinking that is going into, if we're going to be abundantly cautious, I'm with that. I want to inconvenience me. I've been still wearing my mask everywhere. Inconvenience me because I don't want to hurt. I don't want my neighbors I don't want this same thing that we've been through to happen again. But if we're going to go, be consistent. And so now if you still have travel coming in from the UK and they haven't necessarily contained this thing, what good are you doing than restricting the African countries? It doesn't make sense. And this is why when the scripture talks about, again, like following governing authorities, following doesn't mean I don't challenge, I don't ask questions. This is why you have to be sympathetic to people to say, man, this seems a lot more political. Or when they question how vaccinations are spread, or why this country has this resource, or why not. This is why this is a whole cloud of suspicion around something that should not be sparking suspicion. It should be sparking unity. It should be sparking coordinated effort and harmony. But when you see things that don't make sense and are not consistent, then it throws everything into question. The saying is like, if one thing in the Bible is not true, all of it's questionable. Similarly, if one of these things is not consistent, then all of it potentially is not consistent. I'm not into conspiracy theories. I'm not into that, but I am into us with every opportunity we have, whether it's in leadership or as citizens, to consistently affirm the equal value of every image-bearing child of God in the world. And every child of God that has been here on this side of glory is equally fallible too. Which means that those who have been exposed to this virus, whether citizen or not, whether American or not, whether UK, South Africa, all have a likelihood to spread this thing. So why isn't there consistency? And so this is why we have to pay attention. This is why we have to challenge and hold our leaders accountable. But even if they run this thing back, the effects are drastic. What has that done to the economy of South Africa leading into that? What has that done? But again, when you're not mindful or you don't equally value both lives and livelihood, when again, these are bringing up divisions that are already in place, this is why the leaders are angry. These are why the presidents are angry, because this is not new. It's the same type of sinfulness and fallen perspective causing them to be upset. And I'm equally upset. And I believe you should be too.